Right now, Dean Baker is with us. Dean Baker, one of my favorite economists. He's just written a lot of really, really brilliant stuff. Macroeconomist, co-director of the Center for Economic Policy Research, CEPR.org, the website. And Dean, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on.
In the front page of our local paper anyway, the Oregonian, I'm assuming similar articles were run all across America because it's an AP story. The headline, New Home Sales Enjoy Big Surge in June. The essence of the story is that home sales rose in the month of June for the fastest clip in 8 years. And that the housing market is back and all things are going to be great, and this is the beginning of the end of the recession. Your thoughts on that?
Well, a few different things. The housing market's almost certainly falling less rapidly than it was. House prices in many areas are still overvalued. They'll probably continue to fall. There was somewhat of an uptick in the market, I think, in April, May, probably due to the very low interest rates. Mortgage interest rates were under 5% for part of that period, you may recall. Mm-hmm. Plus, you have the $8,000 first-time homebuyer's tax credit. Right. So there are a few things that were pushing the housing market up, and I think that's a temporary boost. I mean, I don't think we're going to go into another free fall with the housing market, but I think it's probably not going to continue to rise for now. We still have an enormous excess supply of housing, and house prices remain overvalued. Now, in terms of the economy as a whole, we've still lost thus far around $6 trillion in housing wealth. This idea that we're going to have this, spinning turnaround, the economy is going to be zooming, it's close to crazy, and it's amazing to me that you get people pretend to be serious economists saying that.
It seems to me that, and give me a reality check on this, that what's really going on is that folks within the Obama administration are trying to reinflate the financial services sector bubble. That this is really what Geithner's all about. Well, it's hard to know what their intentions are. I mean, that may be what they think. It seems a little harebrained if that's actually what they're hoping to do, but I wouldn't rule that out. I mean, it's very hard to see how the economy gets back on a healthy path from where we are now, barring either A, a lot more stimulus, which is what I'd like to see, or B, the longer-term story that you get the dollar down so you can get our trade balanced. Or closer to balance. And neither of those seems to be in the offing at the moment, so how you boost this economy back. Again, just to put it as clear as possible for people, it's really simple arithmetic. We were driven by a housing bubble. People were spending money that they didn't have because they thought they had it because their house price had gone through the roof. Right. Now, their house price is coming back down to earth, which to my mind is a good thing. It's not a happy story, but it had to happen. And they're not going to go out and spend money that they don't have, which is also a good thing. But we need something to make that up. And the only thing to make that up at the moment would be another big dose of government stimulus. Alternatively, we can get the dollar down, get our trade in balance, but that will take a longer period of time, and we're not taking steps towards that direction right now. Yeah, or possibly a national manufacturing policy.
Well, we might want to do that, but that's not saying it's going to get us out of this tomorrow.
Yeah, no, it wouldn't, but I think it would over the long term. You have put forward a suggestion for a national rental program. Stimulus would be the wrong word, I guess.
Well, this is basically a way to help.
Right to rent, you call it.
Yeah, people are facing foreclosures, and question is what we could do for them. There have been all these various plans put forward, really beginning with the Bush administration. Congress had one last summer, and the Obama administration had one back in February that involves more mortgage modifications, and each one puts up more money, more taxpayer dollars to basically get the banks to make modifications. But even with putting up more and more money, we're still finding that very few people are getting modifications. The foreclosure rate in the last quarter was the most rapid ever. So to my mind, we want to keep people in their homes. How can you do that quickly? And the best way I could think of is, how about we just give people the right to stay in their house as renters, paying the market rent for a substantial period of time, 5 to 10 years, something like that, gives people housing security. Also, it would give the lenders a real incentive to work out a modification, because you can't just throw someone out on the street.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Any traction for this?
Actually, it's getting some traction. I've heard from several sources that President Obama himself is actually interested in it. Last week, or the week before, Charles Schumer, the senator from New York, who's obviously very important in the scheme of things here and very close to the financial industry also, he actually said he thought it was a very serious proposal and something that they should look at. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I mean, it was especially surprising to me coming from Senator Schumer because he is close to the financial industry. But on the other hand, they'll take somewhat of a hit on this. But given how much money we've given them, they should be willing to take somewhat of a hit.
Yeah, we're talking with Dean Baker, the Center for Economic and Policy Research, CEPR.org, The Economist, and writer, and so ahead of the curve on so many things. Dean, just broadly, what's your take on the worst and best scenarios over the near term, over the next 6 months to 3 years for the economy and the consequences of that?
Well, the worst scenario, I can envision that we continue to spiral downward. I won't use the term Great Depression. I don't think we're talking about that sort of story, but we could easily imagine the unemployment rate, well, I think it's very likely to cross 10% by the summer, possibly 11% by early next year. And we could be sitting there for several years, which, is a pretty horrible story for an awful lot of people.
And for the Democratic Party.
And the Democratic Party. I'd hate to be Barack Obama running for re-election with an 11% unemployment rate. I'd hate to be in the country. We're, not a pretty picture. But in any case, that's the bad scenario. The good scenario, if we don't get another round of stimulus, it's really hard for me seeing the economy bouncing back. We might begin to edge upward, see the unemployment rate gradually come down. But if we don't do either another round of stimulus or, as I was saying, do something in terms of getting the dollar down so we could see a big boost to our exports, to a big improvement in our trade situation, it's hard for me to see a real bounce back. So maybe the unemployment rate after, again, it's going to hit 10 no matter what, but maybe it'll start to edge down 9%, 8% by 2011. That's still not a very pretty picture.
Right. More than half of all of our international trade is actually the arbitrage of labor. It's companies like Hewlett-Packard setting up division in China, manufacturing things there, selling them to themselves in the United States, and that gets listed as international trade. We see this right across the board with a whole variety of companies and industries. Why do you and other economists continue to support this kind of free trade rather than saying, there should be tariffs on this to reflect the differences, a whole wide variety of differences in the two economies?
Well, at the end of the day, if you actually had free trade, we don't have free trade. Let's be 100% clear. We do not have free trade.
No, the Chinese have 20% average tariffs, and we have 2% average tariffs.
What we've done is we've put a limited segment of our economy in competition. Our doctors don't compete. Our lawyers don't compete. If we could snap our fingers and remove all the barriers, then what you'd see is that a lot of us would benefit because we would get much cheaper health care, would get much cheaper legal services, all the things we pay a lot of money for now because you have professionals that make sometimes cases high six-figure salaries. Those pays would go way, way down.
But they're not producing things of value.
Well, whether or not they're producing things of value, we would get their services at much lower cost. I mean, doctors produce things of value. They provide care for us, but we could get doctors for $100,000 rather than $400,000.
Yeah, okay. All righty, Dean Baker, CEPR, Center for Economic Policy Research.org is the website. Dean, thanks for dropping by today.
Sure, thanks for having me on.
Good talking with you. 16 minutes past the hour. We'll be right back. Thom Hartmann here with you.